Chapter 1 Changben Slope, Second Revision. A di 1900, Tianjin. In a large courtyard house in Gaojiazwang in the western suburbs, a group of people gathered. Each of these people were tough and had guys on them. In the middle of the hall, there was a large flag with the 4 characters, support the Qing dynasty and destroy the foreign countries, which stood out. The foreign devils are about to attack. This time they must never come back. The speaker was Chao Futian, the leader of the Tianjin Boxers. What Chao Shuai said is that Zhang Shuai's #1 regiment in the world has now reached the outskirts of Tianjin, only more than 20 miles away from Lialongtu railway station. Now that Zhang Shuai's #1 regiment in the world is here, the foreign devils will never come back. The speaker was a young man who was less than 20 years old. This man's name is Lu Qingxiang, nicknamed Lu Shijiao, and he is only 19 years old today. The Zhang Shuai this person calls is Zhang Dicheng, an important leader of the Boxer Rebellion, who founded the best regiment in the world in Dulia town. Chao Futian nodded, and then asked, "Where are the righteous men from all over the country? How many have come?" This time, more than 1,000 heroes from all over the world came. They are all martial arts heroes. Even Lu Shan and Lu Daxia from Wudong are here. Really, Hero Lu is here too, Chao Futian said happily. With the world's best master in charge, our great cause of supporting the Qing dynasty and destroying foreign countries will definitely succeed. At this time, Lu Daxia, whom Chao Futian was talking about, was drinking tea in the courtyard of the East Wing. This Lu Daxia is named Lu Shan. He comes from the Wudong sect and is a direct disciple of the leader of the Wudong sect. He is master of both internal and external Qinggong and Qigong. When he was 20 years old, he went to Shaolin alone and defeated the top master in Shaolin at that time. At that time, his martial arts had already reached the forefront of the martial arts. In the following years, Lu Shan traveled around the world, doing chivalry and righteousness, and countless thieves died at his hands. There are even rumors that Lu Shan's current martial arts skills are already the best in the world. But Lu Shan himself naturally knows that there are countless hidden masters in the world. He should not be considered the best in the world, but he should be about the same. In addition to Lu Shan, there were more than a dozen martial arts figures in the other courtyard, all of whom came to help the Boxers. Now that the foreign devils have invaded Tianjin and are about to attack the city, everyone is responsible for the rise and fall of the country. The Boxers decided to resist the 8-nation allied forces in Tianjin, and naturally countless martial arts people came to help. I heard that the foreign devils' muskets and hidden weapons are very powerful, comparable to the top hidden weapons of the Tang sect. I don't know if it's true or not. What's so scary about a musket? A middle-aged man stood up, took off his waistcoat, exposed his strong muscles, and shouted loudly, "I have practiced the Golden Bell cover iron cloth shirt for more than 30 years, and the 13 Taibao skills. I am invulnerable. I am afraid that his musket is invulnerable." Bah, Zhang Laosan, do you think everyone has practiced boy kung fu for more than 30 years like you? I don't have the invulnerability ability like you. A thin man next to him stood up and said, "I heard that the master of boxing can cast talismans. After drinking this talisman water, I will be invulnerable. I will have to ask for a talisman later." A group of martial arts people gathered together and made a lot of noise, but Lu Shan just sat there and drank tea quietly. Lu Shan naturally had nothing to say about defending his family and country, but Lu Shan didn't like some of the Boxer Rebellion's practices. These foreigners are not all bad people. I remember once I met a seriously ill person. I prescribed medicine and used internal energy, but still couldn't cure him. However, when he was carried to the foreigner's church, the foreign priest only used a tube to look into the flesh and cured the person. At this moment, Lu Qingxiang came in from the outside and gave everyone a fist in the air. Everyone. The foreign devils have already landed on the mainland and have set up camp on the shore. It seems that they will march into Tianjin soon. Chao Shuai hopes that everyone can first find out the reality of the enemy camp, so I will trouble you all about this. Lu Shijiao, let me go. Zhang Laosan, the big man who just showed off his muscles, said. Huh, what kind of news can you, a big fool like you, tell me? Naturally, I have to leave this matter of spying on the military situation to me. The thin man interjected. Fate, Xiaoshang, although you run fast, you still have a musket and a hidden weapon in your hand. Can your body withstand it? Said the big man. Lu Shan sighed. Although this group of martial arts people each had their own abilities, they were just like a mob if they were gathered together, without anyone to manage them. Thinking of this, Lu Shan stood up and said, Lu Shizhou, it's better for me to go. As soon as Lu Shan's words came out, everyone shut up. Among them, Lu Shan was the best in martial arts. It was rumored in private that Lu Shan was now the best in the world, so Lu Shan took the initiative to ask for help. Naturally, no one spoke again. It would be great to have Hero Lu take action, Lu Qingxiang said. In Lu Qingxiang's eyes, there is probably nothing in the world that Lu Shan and Hero Lu cannot do. At this time, the British and French forces had landed at the Daegu port in Tianjin. Lu Shan quietly sneaked nearby. Originally, Lu Shan wanted to knock out a soldier and then put on his clothes and sneak in, but after searching for a long time, Lu Shan found that all the people looked different from him. These foreign devils were either yellow-haired or red-haired, and their eyes were also full of green light. None of them had the same black eyes as himself. Lu Shan sighed helplessly, and it seemed that he had no choice but to break in, but with his own martial arts, there should be no problem in rushing in. Thinking of this, Lu Shan jumped up, used Qinggong, turned into a phantom, and ran towards the other party. Lu Shan successfully dodged in. For a master like Lu Shan, it was the most basic thing to keep an eye on all directions and listen to all directions. Although the foreign devils had sentries, it was obvious that these sentries did not know martial arts. For Lu Shan, as long as he spent some effort, he could still sneak in. Erator. Just as Lu Shan was walking towards the center, a voice came from behind. The speaker was a Frenchman, and he naturally spoke in French. Of course, Lu Shan couldn't understand him. Lu Shan turned around and happened to see the French soldier. The French soldier also saw Lu Shan clearly. The French soldier immediately raised his gun from behind. The next moment, Lu Shan suddenly jumped up, rushed over with lightning speed, and pierced the French soldier's throat with a sword. However, the French soldier's voice had already alarmed the people around him, and countless French soldiers, wearing high helmets, rushed over. Lu Shan did not dare to stay, and immediately broke out. With a dance of swords and flowers, he stabbed 3 people to death in the blink of an eye. Bang! A sound like a firecracker sounded, and Lu Shan felt a pain in his shoulder. When he looked back, he saw a foreign devil holding a musket in his hand, with green smoke coming out of the gun. Bam! Bam! There were 2 more sounds. Lu Shan learned the lesson this time and jumped quickly, only to see 2 small holes leaving the place where Lu Shan was originally standing. This is the hidden weapon of the Western musket. It is so powerful and so fast. Feeling the numbness coming from his shoulders, Lu Shan sighed in his heart. This group of French soldiers also looked at Lu Shan in surprise. They didn't expect that there are still people in this world who can dodge bullets. At this time, a man who looked like a leader came out. He pulled out his sword from his waist and shouted a few times. The French soldiers immediately formed 3 factions and aimed their guns at Lu Shan. Not good, Lu Shan secretly sighed. It was so difficult to dodge 1 musket. If there were so many, how could he hide? Thinking of this, Lu Shan shook his hand, and more than a dozen hibiscus golden needles flew out. At the same time, the sound of the firecrackers sounded again. Lu Shan was shocked and hurriedly dodged. He saw the person in the front row who had just fired the gun squatting down, and the sound of gunshots from the back row came over. At this time, the Farong golden needle had already hitting the people in the second row opposite, and more than a dozen people fell down instantly. Unfortunately, the bullets were already in front of Lu Shan at this time. Lu Shan shouted loudly, and his internal strength reached its peak. Lu Shan felt that with his excellent internal strength, he should be able to block so many bullets. However, The familiar pain came from Lu Shan's body, and a bullet hole appeared in Lu Shan's body at the same time. It turns out that internal strength cannot stop the musket. Lu Shan sighed secretly in his heart and fell down unwillingly. Boom! The violent vibration woke up Lu Shan. Lu Shan tried hard to open his eyes, only to find that it was pitch black. Then Lu Shan stretched out his limbs. At this time, Lu Shan felt as if he was wrapped in something, and it was wrapped very firmly. It's cloth. A very soft cloth wrapped around myself. Lu Shan breathed a sigh of relief. It was just an ordinary piece of cloth. As long as he exerted his internal strength, it could be broken immediately. Thinking of this, Lu Shan mobilized his internal energy, but Lu Shan suddenly found that he couldn't use his internal energy. Have I lost all my inner strength? A very ominous feeling came over my heart. A very fishy smell came, and Lu Shan sniffed. At this time, Lu Shan discovered that the very fishy smell came from blood, and experience in the world told Lu Shan that this blood was human blood. After many years of wandering around the world, Lu Shan knew very well that a small injury could not cause such a bloody smell. Now that such a strong smell of blood appears here, it means that people must be dead around, and there are more than one dead. Ding! A crisp collision sound came. Lu Shan was shocked. The collision sound was definitely caused by weapons. Coupled with the strong smell of blood, Lu Shan was very sensitive to the fact that there were people fighting life and death around him. Ah! As a scream came, Lu Shan knew that another person might have suffered misfortune. Immediately afterwards, Lu Shan's body began to shake, and as the body shook, the sound of the horse's hooves as it ran reached Lu Shan's ears. I'm on a horse. At this time, Lu Shan had slightly understood that he had lost all his internal strength and was wrapped in cloth and placed on a horse. Lu Shan gradually recalled that he seemed to have been shot by countless foreigners with muskets. Could it be that someone saved him? It must be the brothers of the Boxer Rebellion. General in the army, please leave your name. A shout came from afar. I am Changshan Zhao Zilong. This time the voice was very close to Lu Shan. It seemed like it came from Lu Shan. After hearing this, Lu Shan started to think about it. Changshan. Zhao Zilong? Isn't Zhao Zilong Zhao Yun? Why do these words sound so familiar? By the way, this is a section from Cheng Banpo. I heard it sung by an opera singer myself. What happened today? Didn't the Boxers also invite actors to sing in the opera? Biu Qi. The sound came again. It was the sound of a weapon piercing the body, and this weapon was a sword that Lu Shan was very familiar with. Then, the screams came again. Wrong. Someone is clearly fighting. With the smell of blood and the sound of weapons, Lu Shan knew that he would not make a mistake. But just now someone was shouting drama. What's going on? Suddenly, Lu Shan understood that the script just now was a code. This is definitely someone checking the code. Lu Shan has been in the martial arts world for many years, so he naturally knows that some sects in the martial arts world use secret codes to communicate. But this was the first time Lu Shan heard this secret code, Changshan Zhao Zilong. Which sect's secret code was this? Why did the Boxers use such weird codes? The sound of weapons clashing continued to be heard, and the smell of blood not only did not dissipate, but became even stronger. At this time, Lu Shan already felt that something was wrong. Judging from the sounds of the weapons, there were 2 weapons at war, and one was a sword. But now, Lu Shan counted carefully and found that the 2 weapons had killed at least more than 300 people. More than 300 people in today's martial arts world. Even big sects like Wudong and Shaolin cannot afford to lose easily. Now, in the blink of an eye, more than 300 people died, which made Lu Shan feel a little guilty. It seemed that this was definitely not an ordinary martial arts fight. Are they fighting with the foreign devils again? But why would the foreign devils ask, generals in the army, please leave your name? Gradually, an hour passed. At this time, Lu Shan felt that his eyelids could not be opened, and a trace of sleepiness appeared in his heart. What's going on? Why are you so sleepy? And it's so sleepy. You must know that I have been practicing Qigong for many years, and my internal strength is very deep. Even if I don't sleep for several days and nights, it will be fine. But now it has only been an hour, so why am I tired? Amidst this doubt, Lu Shan fell asleep in a daze. Ida, help me. A loud shout woke Lu Shan up from his sleep. This voice came from beside him. Zilong, hurry up, I'm blocking you here. Another voice came from the front, and Lu Shan heard it clearly. Winged. The secret codes are all ready. Zhao Yun just showed up, and this time even Zhang Fei showed up. The horse gradually slowed down and finally stopped. There was a shaking feeling, and then bursts of crying came from Lu Shan's ears. And this cry came from a man. There is no future, and the man is still crying. Lu Shan cursed secretly, and at this moment, the crying voice came. Zilong, what are you holding? Lord, Yun is incompetent. Mrs. Mi was seriously injured and refused to mount her horse, so she threw herself into the well and died. Yun was only able to save the young master. Then, the shaking feeling came again, and Lu Shan felt as if he was being picked up and dragged up. Then, Lu Shan felt that he was picked up by someone, and the black cloth in front of his face was finally lifted. The dazzling light almost made Lu Shan unable to open his eyes. It took him a long time to slowly adapt, and what appeared in front of Lu Shan was a face. The man in front of me looked less than 50 years old. His face was darkened by gunpowder smoke, and there were patches of blood. His head was twisted together in a mess, and his eyes were filled with tears. The tears kept flowing down. It seemed that the man who was crying just now was him. And Lu Shan looked around, and suddenly, Lu Shan noticed something was wrong. The crying man in front of him was holding him, and he seemed to have become the size of a baby. I almost lost one of my generals because of you, a brat. Lu Shan was still in shock, but the man in front of him had already spoken. His words were impassioned, and he spat on Lu Shan's face. How disgusting, Lu Shan thought to himself. At this moment, Lu Shan felt that his body was falling. Lu Shan is very familiar with this feeling. He remembers that when he was practicing Qigong ladder cloud zone, he actually flew up and then fell down. The feeling of free fall was like this. The crying man in front of him actually threw himself to the ground. Bang! Lu Shan fell firmly to the ground, and the pain instantly spread throughout his body. Oh, it hurts. You guy, you are so brave. You dare to throw me down. Lu Shan yelled, but the curse coming from Lu Shan's mouth turned into bursts of baby crying. What's going on? What the hell? Chapter 2, Brother Guan appears. After a long time, Lu Shan finally discovered a very serious problem. That is, he had really turned into a baby. At this time, a woman with very fair skin was holding her in her arms. This woman doesn't look very old, but her appearance is very beautiful. Although her head is in confusion at this time, she can still see the beauty emanating from her bones. Everyone around her calls her Madam. This person is Lu Chan's biological mother, Mrs. Gon. Adu, are you okay? Does it hurt? The lady hugged Lu Shan lovingly, with tears in her eyes falling continuously. Adu? This should be your nickname. Why does it sound so familiar? Lu Shan fiercely thought about it. When he was learning martial arts, his master would always scold Adu for not being able to help him up when he saw his disciples' horse-drawing skills. No wonder this name sounds so familiar. Adu, Zhao Yun, Zhang Fei, and the Lord who cried very pitifully in Zhao Yun's mouth. Lu Shan suddenly realized a serious problem. Isn't this Adu, the son of Liu Bei, Lu Chan? I turned into Lu Chan. This is absolutely impossible. Lu Shan looked at the people around him again. At this time, Lu Shan discovered that these people were indeed dressed differently. In the distance, you can still vaguely make out a broken banner with a big Lu written on it. I am Zhang Ida from Yin, who dares to fight to the death with me. A loud voice came from far away. The voice was still clearly audible when it reached Lu Shan. Shaolin's unique skill, the lion's roar. Lu Shan thought subconsciously, but it didn't look like it. Fight without fighting. Retreat without retreating. The voice came again, and Lu Shan had already discovered that there was no method of using internal force in this voice. This was definitely not a lion's roar, it was just a loud voice. After sleeping, Lu Shan opened his eyes, and a black face with a beard appeared in front of him. This man had a beard all over his face, a pair of eyes as big as copper bells staring at him, and a grin on his face, not to mention how ugly this smile was. "Sister-in-law, I told you a long time ago that my eldest nephew is blessed with great fortune, and everything will be fine this time," the black-faced man said, but his voice was a little too loud, which shocked Lu Shan's brain. "Third uncle, thanks to you and General Zhao Yun this time. Otherwise Adu might not be able to survive," Mrs. Nagin said. "Hee, I really envy Zilong, fighting his way in and out of Chao's army of millions of thieves." The black-faced man began to chatter. Lu Shan looked at the black-faced man in front of him and was sure that this man was Zhang Fei and Zhang Yida. And if he were Adu, then the hopeless crying man who just threw him to the ground, wouldn't he be Liu Bei? Thinking of this, Lu Shan closed his eyes and prayed secretly in his heart. "This is all a dream. It must be a dream. Just take a nap and return to Wudong Mountain. Brother Guan, bless me and help me wake up from my dream." In the martial arts world, whether they are from the righteous path or the demon sect, thieves, or the government, it seems that everyone who licks blood with their swords in the martial arts world pays homage to the second Brother Guan. Of course, the monks from Shaolin Temple and the Taoist priests from Wudong Mountain would not worship second Brother Guan. Although Lu Shan is a disciple of Wudong, he is also a lay disciple of the Wudong sect, so he still pays homage to his second Brother Guan on weekdays. Lu Shan muttered Brother Guan's name and gradually fell asleep. "I've met my sister-in-law." A deep voice woke Lu Shan up. Lu Shan opened his eyes and found a big man in front of him. This man was 9 feet tall, with a face like a winter date, eyebrows and eyes like a phoenix, and a long beard that hung down to his chest, black and shiny. "It's Brother Guan. Brother Guan appears." Suddenly, Lu Shan appeared next to Brother Guan, and there was a black-faced man standing next to him. It was the black-faced Zhang Fei, chatting and laughing with Guan Yu. This is not Brother Guan's spiritual appearance. The second Brother Guan in front of me seems to be a living person. Lu Shan's mood suddenly fell from heaven to hell, and a trace of despair arose. I have not returned to Wudong Mountain. I am still in the arms of that beautiful woman. I am still a 1-year-old child. In Jiangxia City, Lu Shan has completely figured out his identity at this time. It is the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty, and the place where I am staying is Jingzhou. His name is Lu Chan, and his nickname is Adu. His father is Liu Bei, and his mother is Mrs. Gan. And this body of mine is already 1-year-old this year. Now in the 13th year of Jianan, Cao Cao led hundreds of thousands of troops to attack Jingzhou. Liu Bei, his chief father, was defeated by Cao Cao and fled to Xiangyang with 300,000 Xingye people. However, at this time, Liu Biao, the herdsman of Jingzhou, died of illness. Liu Biao's general Kai Mao usurped power, secretly surrendered to Cao Cao, and refused Liu Bei entry into the city. Liu Bei had no choice but to flee to Jiangxia. When passing by Changbanpo, he was overtaken by Cao Cao's tiger and leopard cavalry, and Liu Bei's army was defeated. Only then did Zhao Zilong save himself by entering and exiting 7 times at Changbanpo, and then Zhang Fei drove back Chao's army at Dangyang Bridge. Unexpectedly, he turned out to be Adu, the Adu that history talks about who can't be helped. Lu Shan sighed helplessly. "Adu, just be Adu." Anyway, Lu Chan's name is similar to Lu Shan, so let's just be Lu Chan from now on. Of course, I have no other choice. It is now the 13th year of Jianan. Cao Cao